Good morning, or hello, everyone. My name is Paul Beyer, and we are excited you are here. This is our daily Gen AI news briefing where we rate articles essential, important, or optional to save you time. We have a lot of good news today, a lot of news from NVIDIA and Google, and that wars continue. And stay tuned to figure out how our analysts rate them. And if there's actually suggested news we have for you today, or you can take time off from a reading. So let's start with the first article, Ankash.
Sure, Paul. Can you bring up my screen, Paul? Yes. So the first one that we have for today comes from Google. So Google has released some new open AI models which have a focus on safety.
And I think we had Adam. You were going to kick us off here.
Yes, sir. I'll jump in here. So I don't know. I was kind of on the fence between optional and important. It's in summary, basically. So Google has Gemini, which is their paid product, and you can get it through the API, and they keep that closely guarded. They also, similar to Meta, have a family of generative models that are open, and that's this Gemma series. And so Gemma 2, the 2 billion, which is quite small, so you can even run it like on a laptop without a GPU. So it's significant that such a small model is coming to market, and it's actually performing quite well to some of the boys that are a lot bigger on the block. So, it's significant to see Google making strides and showing up as a leader, both in the sort of flagship private space as well as starting to play catch up here a little bit. But at the same time, it's about time. I mean, I'm more hopeful more than anything else that the news today is going to force OpenAI to give us something better sooner, because I'm sure they're just waiting for too many things to seem competitive so that then they can just take one giant leap forward again. But so it was probably optional. I could consider why it's important, but wasn't quite over the fence. Yeah.
So Luda?
Yeah, I think it's optional, Paul. It's the next release, I think, is more important. This is a release like a catch-up almost, to put security, to put other features into the smaller models. So I think it's optional. I agree with Adam.
I mean, I do think it's interesting, Adam. If you think about customers, I don't know, I spent $500,000, $1 million on all this work to go live in production with a LLM-based application that's basically taking an API pipe into his black box. That's changing all the time. I don't know what the hell's happening over there. Part of it, I don't want to have, hate language or anything coming to my human in a loop or my unassisted application. I have no visibility. It's changing all the time. So why am I excited about going live with this contract? I mean, it's really, it just shows how early days we are in this stuff.
Yeah, that's why the middle folks like Hugging Face and Snowflake are very important, because they get you tools to experiment to see which one's is at least better, right? So this is good.
Great. So optional. Next one, please. Oh, gosh.
The next one again comes from Google, and it talks about Google's Gemini 1.5 Pro model and how it is surpassing or challenging GPT 4o.
This is the fifth or sixth time that Google is trying to make an announcement and not flop on its face, I believe. So, and this one, I think we had assigned to Luda. Luda, what do you think here?
Actually, I think it is important news, because according to a particular score, ELO, they call it, when you look at models, this is taking the lead. It is not open yet, meaning it's not out there yet. It's just in test mode with some developers. So, but it is taking the lead and there are 3 or 4 emerging, right? Google, the Gemini, GPT 4o, Anthropic Claude 3. So this is actually good news to the discussion that we've just had. Which ones do we use? How do we use it? And that's an important news, if not essential. But since it's not open, I would say important for now.
So important news on at least I think what's merging is at least one of the three major closed models with Gemini. Amanda, any thoughts, or Adam?
Not too many thoughts, Paul. I'm on the fence with this one because, again, I agree with everything Luda said, but a lot of these still feel like somewhat of announcements to me. So because of that, I start to become on the fence if they're optional.
This one's very, very collaborative today. Non-confrontational. Adam, I had to tend to the same team we've seen before. Luda's got a...
I'm right there as well. I mean, yeah, I thought one interesting thing to note was there is another leaderboard that's specifically for vision models, and it comments in there that this one is actually on the leaderboard for that as well. And what I was more struck by than anything is there is this little table here, the screenshot of the arena, as they call it, right, where it's at the top of the leaderboard. But I was looking at GPT-4 Turbo, which is now number 6 on that list, and it was like, geez, it feels like, just a couple of weeks ago, Turbo was the latest thing on the block, and 4.0 was just coming out. And now you look right at the top of that list, right? You got GPT 4.0, but you got Claude 3.5, you have Gemini Advanced, you have Llama 3.1. Like the top of the leaderboard, it's not really just OpenAI anymore. Yeah. And to see Google coming to the top of this list, I guess more the bigger picture of how much everyone has sort of played catch up recently did certainly strike me.
Yeah, Adam, it's a really good point. And right before this call, Ankaj and I and others were having a call on our updated buyer's guide, or whatever the new name is for this fall. And Ankaj, this might be something, or at least sharing what the leaderboards are and how to get to them and how fluid they've been. Because I do think it'd be interesting. I do time machine go back to last year, 12 months ago. It's OpenAI, and this has really just shown how the competition is really becoming fluid and closer, both in the closed world and in the open, catching up with
with the previous announcement.
No, but the announcement like this from Google is important because this is one of the contenders for the top spot. So I feel that if we settle on a couple of models that are essentially at par performance-wise, they have their own, like, you have to experiment with them because they have their own characters. They're not the same. So, and they perform differently for different applications. So I think this is good that you will have, for the enterprise users, you will have a choice, open, closed, and then between them, you will have still a choice. So it's actually good, and it's important to say that's another one that is catching up.
Right. So it sounds like important. I mean, I think the other thing, and I know at least I've been being up on Google a lot. I mean, both Microsoft and AWS have the advantage that they're working through OpenAI and Anthropic, standalone companies that don't hopefully have a little less of the bureaucrat overhead that Google has. And Google's, at least been, I think they've got investment a handful, but really been working directly within the organization. So important. Next one, Akash, please.
Well, hang on, Paul. I'll just stop you there, though, right? Because Microsoft Azure AI isn't just OpenAI, and Amazon Bedrock is certainly their own IP as well. So I think all three of them are showing strength in that in-house development also.
Well, yeah, and I was specifically talking about the model itself. So the model development's in OpenAI. I mean, does Azure have its own model as well?
My understanding is although they owe the licensing to OpenAI and they use it in Copilot, the internal Azure AI that was basically forked from GPT-4 is Microsoft's own model that they continue to build.
Yeah, actually, I was told that last year. So that's actually a really interesting point. So
Microsoft has their own OpenAI model that they're building, and then Amazon has Bedrock and Google has Gemini.
So if I'm a customer and I want to flavor, as I'm a customer, do I know what the Microsoft Copilot unique version is compared to 4.0?
Well, I'm not sure exactly what's under Copilot at this point. That's the funny part. But when you're building with Azure AI,
I think we lost Adam.
Yeah. All right,
let's go on. But I think they haven't really formally announced the switch, and I think it is still OpenAI that is powering Copilot.
Yeah, great. So important for this one. Next one, Akash, please.
The next one comes from GitHub and Microsoft. So GitHub has announced a new functionality of models. So it is competing in a way with Hugging Face, where you can deploy your own models on Hugging Face. Now you can do the similar thing on GitHub as well.
And I know we had signed this to Adam, who's I think caught in internet
I can do it.
lockup land. But Luda, what's your thoughts on this?
Yeah, remember we reviewed Snowflake just, I don't know, less than a week ago. It feels that offered the same functionality. Hugging Face offers the same functionality, but they are doing it, that is their product, right? So this is another contender going in there. Obviously, this is part of Microsoft, so they're tying it in after you've experimented with different models, then you can go into production with the Microsoft Azure. So it's an interesting tie and an interesting competitor, to the point that, Paul, you were making at the front of this discussion, right? You have to be able to experiment, and this is happening in GitHub as well. So, but I don't know. I would rate it as important because I think this is Microsoft, and this is a critical issue. So important for our audience to know that there is yet another capability here to be able to do it.
Adam, do we have you back by chance?
Yeah, partially.
Okay.
I don't know what happened. My laptop just died, but it's going on 8 years old. So it might have just been the time. I'm trying to figure out the power if it just the battery's off. But so I'm here on my phone. I would certainly agree with the importance of this news. We were actually using, it talks about, I think it's called the GitHub code space, and they're sort of like little temporary code areas where you can test things and get them going before you transfer it over to like your enterprise. And we were actually using it with the engineer from Microsoft in part of building a solution for a client. And he basically built the thing, put it up on his GitHub, and then like put it into a code space and shared the code space with us. So to be able to experiment with things and have easier access to these models, and then to quickly be able to bring that stuff into your Azure tenant, and know that then you're locking it down and you're having it within your own protected private cloud, public cloud, but on the public Azure tenant, it's certainly a powerful capability.
Yeah. And I think it certainly supports what we continue to see out there as important need on thinking through model switchability and valuation and flexibility, and this would ease this. So it sounds like important. Amanda, can you live with important?
Yep.
All right, important. Next one, please.
The next one comes from US government. So the National Telecommunication and Information Administration Agency has said that open models do not come under any sort of regulation right now. So we should promote open source models.
And who we asked? Amanda, do you have thoughts on this one?
I think this was originally Luda, but yeah, I can take this one.
Cool.
So I guess for me, again, this is sort of, I don't know, it's government. I mean, it's focusing more on government than anything else. So again, it's, and then there's regulations. I don't know. I was quite honestly on the fence with this one. I mean, we know that we need to keep an eye on it, right? And so that's one of the points of it, that we need to watch it and things like that. So I don't know. Articles like this, again, I'm on the fence whether it can be important just to note that, I mean, this is a consistent thing we're going to see, or whether it's just literally optional at this point.
I mean, Adam, I'm bringing out my nothing burger here. I mean,
Yes.
Is there anything here that's worth talking about? Models might be risky and we should monitor them, but there's no regulation.
Yeah, I think it's optional, super optional for me, because it's an intention article. It says, look, we better look at it, right, and put something on paper to tell people that it's dangerous, but we want to promote AI. So it's an intention to do something. But so when they do something, then we'll talk about it.
Well, we have our longtime audience member and member of our Learning Lab, Michael Novak, arguing for important. But Michael, I think for now we're not persuaded, but we may have you back someday and we'll revisit it. So optional for now. Next one, please, Ankush.
The next one comes from NVIDIA. So in their recent SIGGRAPH conference, NVIDIA researchers have harnessed real-time Gen AI to build immersive desert world.
I think Amanda.
That was me. Yeah, this one was me. So I love this one. I thought it was really cool. And it's NVIDIA, but is this, super important for the leader? Again, it's pretty much what Ankush says about building this sort of 3D desert scene. So again, I would say to check it out and look at it if you haven't had a chance to yet, because it's really, really awesome. But again, I guess we can look at it as important because this 3D capability is something that's pretty awesome. It's something that I think, companies could definitely take hold of if they're interested. But, we could also look at it that it's a use case. So I feel like today I'm on the fence for every single article I've come across so far. So any other thoughts?
Really, really cool, but optional. Is that the...
Yeah, I hate to say it because it's NVIDIA, so I'll hide my head, but yes.
Okay. Yeah. Definitely cool stuff. We continue to see amazing stuff going from text to 3D and idea to visualization. Other thoughts?
Yeah, but okay. Yeah, you could put it as optional. I would agree with that. However, I feel that it's 5 minutes, a very fascinating result, right? You look at it and it's real and it's alive, right? So think of what is possible now for marketing, for attracting attention. So this is going to be used, and I feel for the leaders, it's important to know that NVIDIA has a stack and tools and the capabilities to do that in 5 minutes.
Right.
So, right? It's like in robotics. NVIDIA did the stack. They are acting very smartly. They pick areas where they think they can actually spur more development. Robotics is certainly one, right? The 3D is certainly one. So they're picking areas where there will be more customers. They're betting on that. So I think it's important.
So I will make the case for it being absolutely important, potentially essential, depending on how far out you want to look or how important you want to actually emphasize this point. But if people aren't paying attention to the Omniverse that NVIDIA has built and continues to build, you need to be tapping into that. We actually talked about it just last night when we were talking about the robotics pipeline that uses the Omniverse. So does this. And it's really their play into virtual, augmented, paired, twin realities, the metaverse, cyberspace, all of that sort of stuff. And the realities start to blend in terms of whether you're using this virtual environment so that you can simulate the real world for robotics fine-tuning and training, or whether you're simulating this real world so that then you can photo capture it and do your marketing and your commercials and your videos and your 3D all from simulated environments. So the Omniverse is massive, and to see this, it's really an agentic system, if you think about it. You have multiple AI processes that are being used in a pipeline with instruction over the top of them that's doing the whole workflow, just like we were looking on that little diagram yesterday. And NVIDIA is stitching together agentic systems, and this is actually a product coming to market that uses 3 or 4 different AIs that are getting dynamic instruction along the way to basically create virtual realities near real time. It's pretty extraordinary when you look at it.
So I disagree with Michael, who is talking about not necessary. Think about the training and digital twins that many people want to put together. If you
commercials, even like That's what they're going after with this. I think it was sort of implied. They were talking about the angles from which you could then like take movies and take images from these renders.
Right.
And
Many
a lot of-
companies are struggling with digital twins. Now you can do it in embedded for training and the like with in the or for action in the 3D environment. This is powerful. So no, I think it is very important, and this is the way to differentiate actually. So you can ignore it, or you can take hold of it and use it, and when you use it, you will differentiate.
So important it is. Leaders need to be aware of this important vendor out there, obviously, and this important offering they have around the Omniverse. So important here. Let's get. I think we got two more. Go ahead, Ankaj.
Sure. So the next one comes from Character AI. So it talks about how Character AI approaches prompt engineering in their own sort of environment.
Yeah, I had been assigned this. I thought it was very interesting. We continue to see amazing things that can be done on more advanced prompts, but I classified this as optional right now. I think the advanced prompting really is an advanced use that needs to be lower down in implementation, but optional for me. Any other disagreements?
No, but interestingly, they put specific product that competes with other products out there to work with prompts. I think it's good.
Yeah.
But yeah, optional.
It's very interesting. We've done a lot in the last week or so. We've done probably 4 or 5 presentations with companies and conferences on showing prompts. And it's just amazing how few people have actually had exposure to any more of the most simplistic prompts out there. You know, hey, I did it once. It's a cheat tool. I did a poem, and that's it. And if you start showing them, we were at an M&A conference, and we showed them. We uploaded a 185-page public merger and acquisition agreement, and started analyzing it and improving it, and they were blown away. So I think the prompt, the art of prompt, the drive value is really important, but this one optional. Amanda, are you okay with that? Okay, great. Last one here, last article.
Paul, before you go to the next one, may I say that this is focused on prompt design versus prompt engineering. So it's taking it a little further to say, hey, think about how do you want the whole prompt and the whole experience to work, and then showing tools of how to build it. So it is a little bit different, but it's still optional for me.
Great. Let's do the last one and we'll wrap up.
Yes. So the last one is a research paper. So it talks about complexity class principles applied to compound AI system design.
But compound AI design, that's another architecture category term that we continue to see out there. We know that this is from the Bear Group out of Stanford. Databricks pushing it. I was on 2 calls this week with vendors. They're also struggling with what the category definition is. And this may be one of them. But Amanda, what do you think of this research paper? Should our time-starved AI leader pay attention to this?
So the concept of it, yeah. I mean, just about the verification of responses, things like that. But for me, this got a little bit technical. So to ask them to sit there and dig through it, I feel like it's more optional for them. But maybe they want to go ahead and send it over to their development teams just to look through it. Right. But anyway, that's my thoughts.
Well, good. Well, let's wrap up. That's optional. You want to put the summary up on Kaj? You want to do that? A learning lab this Monday. Rosemary's going to talk through more about the SEO bloodbath we continue to see out there. Those wars and discussions only continue with the things we saw this week about OpenAI getting in the search business here. From today, we had no essential, but 3 important. 2 Google, Gemini, and the NVIDIA one. So thank you, everyone. Have a fantastic weekend. Please join us this Monday at 7 o'clock Eastern for our weekly learning lab. They continue to be fabulous sources of networking and learning. And continue to consider coming to Boston for Generative AI World 2024. It's October 7th and 8th in Boston. We have fantastic interest in it, fantastic set of speakers. Forbes is a sponsor, and it absolutely will sell out. We were fortunate last year to sell out, and this one for sure will sell out. So thank you, everyone. Have a fantastic day and weekend. We'll talk to you next week.